We start with some creepy German nutter spying on a local trucker having a quiet dump in the woods before aiming a rifle at the poor sod. Lol. Maybe this explains why a certain other demographic keeps shitting in public places. Well, if the movie was shown overseas and subsequently traumatised a whole generation of Indians who don't want to risk being kidnapped by crazed Germans, I guess. Anyway, after the opening titles, Yankee tourist floozies Lindsay and Jenny head out to a nightclub but instead get lost and break down in the rain and quickly seek shelter at the local nutjob's place. And this Dr. Heiter fella just can't believe his luck when two top totties knock on his door in the middle of the night with soaking wet panties.
Bro is living the dream. Bro is living the dream.
Naturally, he just drugs the poor girls with her hypno and calls it a night. But the dopey Lindsay bird goes and spills her poisoned water, so he has to go all the way downstairs to his creepy lab to get a syringe and totally do things the old-fashioned way. Which I guess just involves a grown man throttling a girl with his groin before penetrating her with his stiff and solid tool.
Nice.
Disgusting!
The next morning, the girls wake up chained to gurneys down in his basement, and just can't believe this harmless looking German pensioner who lives alone in a house full of grotesque art depicting conjoined human beings will turn out to be a total wrong'un.
I did not see that coming.
Unfortunately for the trucker guy though, he apparently don't match, and thus has to totally die because reasons. So after burying his ass out back in the garden like some forgotten family dog, the mad doc brings in some poor bewildered oriental fella called Katsuro, and soon reveals all about his backstory and madcap plan. Cause turns out he's the world's leading expert surgeon on separating conjoined twins. And after reading about the NIH's abominable experiments on animals, he recently got bored and wanted to give it a go himself, promptly stitching his Rottweiler's face to another one's arse for shits and giggles. And now he wants to move up a gear to human trials, and they're all going to get stitched butt to face too, also for literal shits and giggles. Because he reckons that by making some surgical alterations like removing the teeth, expanding the jaws and cutting the knee ligaments, he can forge a single digestive tract and thus create a living organism that resembles some sort of human centipede. Well, if he stitches a bunch more legs and arms to him, I guess. Otherwise they'd be more like a meat caterpillar of misery, stitched together only by madness and powered by a stream of farts and regret.
Ain't nobody got time for that!
Naturally, they all think he's well bonkers and should probably just get a girlfriend already, or at least a bloody hobby that don't involve mutilating foreign nationals and doing hate crimes against innocent Asians and shit.
Yeah, that's probably good, yeah.
And given they don't really fancy being sewn up to the arse end of a random Jap and having to swallow more shit than the local normie watching mainstream media these days, they try to get the heck out of Dodge already. But unfortunately, only Lindsay manages to get herself free. But hilariously just gets further terrorised and chased through the house, before falling face first into a small pool.
No!
And once Dr. Fauci catches up to her, it looks like it's curtains for the hopelessly naive protagonist, who laughably thought she might just get away scot-free at the end of Act 1, despite the villain already stating that she's the main part of his plan in a movie called The Human Centipede, and where the fucking central centipede is yet to even turn up.
What, are you retarded?
But luckily, he refuses to kill her, given he still wants to do that mad experiment thing, and fulfill his lifelong dream of creating life without having to pay for dinner dates and put up with the inevitable child support payments after dipping his dilly into some random skank.
My boy's wicked smart.
But also luckily, the whole place suffers a power cut which allows her to escape again, and finally gets on with rescuing her mates by dragging the poor sod all around the gaff, but hilariously just leaving the pussy old Jap at his mercy.
Sucks to be you. But
unfortunately, Lindsay soon gets lost and found in the rain again and promptly penetrated with an old man's dart without her consent. It's steady. The crazy kraut then stops fucking around and promptly gets busy carving up and mutilating his victims in his lab all on his lonesome, which is quite an impressive feat to be fair. And once they wake up to their new situation and life-changing condition in which they don't even qualify for bloody welfare benefits, they stare in disbelief that the mad lad actually went and did it, and now the group's all closer than ever, but not in a good way. And poor Katsuro is totally stunned, because he only arrived in the country the other night, and already he's half naked and getting ringed by a hot girl. And before he can say, I knew the girls out west were complete kinky rotters, but this is taking the piss, son, Dr. Heiter just revels in his achievements, and presumably just laughs at the memories of his old childhood school teachers, insisting he'd been incel forever and neither create nor amount to anything in his entire life.
Fuck you!
Though it ain't too long before he starts to regret creating horrors beyond man's comprehension, when the fuckers won't shut up whining all night and totally disturbing his precious beauty sleep. So he barges in the middle of the night and says stop whining on about being trapped in a waking nightmare and being cursed to a fate worse than death, and shut up already, given I was just having a nice dream about being stitched to Ava Braun's furry beaver, and now the fantasy's totally ruined, bitch. Anyway, the next day, he tries to train his new pet centipede thing like an obedient dog, but I guess also starts to regret putting a Japanese fella at the front, given they're not really known for wanting to engage in dishonourable, undignified acts, and thus also keeps biting him and shit.
Boom! Gotcha, bitch!
Speaking of, poor Katsuro does a kinky hate crime of his own when he has no choice but to go potty in a local bird's mouth, and he's probably just now kicking himself that he didn't set up an OnlyFans page first to live stream it.
It's a rookie mistake. Gosh, you hate to see it.
And poor Lindsay has no choice herself but to finally do all her old boyfriends have told her to do in the past and just bloody suck it up and swallow already. After eventually shooting their shot and trying to make a run for it, or a slow crawl I guess, they just get themselves lashed for their troubles. And before you can say, oh wait, if Jenny's at the tail end of this thing, doesn't that technically make her a Jenny towel? They get in line for a medical checkup, where poor Lindsay is found to be constipated, well given she's got nothing in her belly other than a bit of Asian slop. And no, I don't mean their standard national rice dishes. Whilst poor Jenny's having a nightmare after her results come back positive for pus and totally been addicted to eating arse.
I totally get it.
What?
But before he can lick said pus like a total degenerate, Dr. Hyder gets an unexpected house call by a pair of nosy detectives, who promptly ask him if he's seen two top-totty Yankee birds what love getting wet and inappropriately visiting pensioners in the dead of night.
That's a tough one.
Good guess, but actually no.
Naturally, he says he ain't seen these pussy old twats what they're banging on about, and certainly ain't stitched them together to create a hideous freak of nature and a creature so heinous even God himself would barf at the sight of, so shut up about it already. But they just get super suspicious after his constant angry outbursts and being a total butterfingers, dropping syringes for the sedatives everywhere and shit.
There's no way out of this one. You're done.
You're done! You're done! You're done!
Meanwhile, the centipede crew start getting their act together and working as a team to grab a nearby shank. Whilst the cops upstairs say they've had enough of this creep blatantly hiding something and are totally now off to get a warrant to raid the place.
Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear.
After returning to the lab, the doc is then stabbed up by his own pet Asian, as a trio of butt munchers haul themselves upstairs and into the bedroom, whilst hardcore Hyder hauls himself after him but first stops to take a moment to lick some stairs for some reason. Dang, the man really is a freak. I mean, splicing strangers together ass to mouth is one thing, but licking frickin' stairs is a whole nother kettle of barmy.
Carrot, bastard.
Meanwhile, Katsuro is busy getting smash happy with a small lamp, but once the doc finally appears to totally bollock him about rudely smashing up his home when they're guests in his gaff, they turn to confront each other head on, just like when Neo and Agent Smith totally launched themselves at each other at the end of The Matrix. But, yeah, it's not quite so thrilling and dynamic here unfortunately.
Lame.
Don't waste my motherfucking time!
Anyway, Katsuro's now grabbed some stray glass and is totally about to shank her bitch up, but instead just breaks into a fit of giggles and slices his own neck up after suffering a late stage epiphany and realising he probably deserves his fate, well given how poorly he treated his family or some shit. And the girls just can't believe he's now gone and treated his new family so poorly by promptly cucking out and totally screwing him.
Have you learned nothing?
Elsewhere, the cops return and start investigating the house, before the fat one walks in on the human centipede, but hilariously seems to think it's just a casual Sunday morning in modern day libtard Germany. Lol, live and let live, eh? But after hearing a nearby gat go off, he races down to the pool to see a man face down in the water and promptly starts to worry that he's wandered into Michael Barrymore's gaff.
Oh good lord!
But turns out it ain't Michael Barrymore's gaff, but actually it's just a crazed kraut letting off lead, and he promptly gets a few slugs in his tummy for his troubles, before he ends up Barrymore too. But not before getting off a final cap right between the eyes of his own murderer and naughty butt bothering centipede maker. And we end with poor Jenny also cucking out and finally succumbing to her infected wounds, whilst also appearing to have a few orgasms while she dies for some reason.
Go on, you dirty scat!
as Lindsay is now left all alone and totally helpless in an isolated and foreign remote country residence, whilst also sandwiched between the front and rear of two cold and stinky corpses, and bringing a whole new meaning to being stuck in the arse end of nowhere. And that's it, that's the movie. Well, if you can call it that, I suppose. Though my favourite part, oh well, aside from the random perv pulling up beside him making pervy faces, and also the film's poster laughably claiming to be 100% medically accurate, was more the movie's scathing critique of liberal societies. Well, given a godless man thinks he's replacing the almighty and totally creating a superior model of life. But what he actually ends up creating is toxic, miserable, barely functioning, and totally doomed to collapse.
Standard.
But anyway, that's a plot and that's your lot. Considering that bell thing so you don't miss any future recaps. Tell me whose butt you'd like to be stitched to in the comments if you have time. And I'll get my arse eaten out 24/7 and certainly be more bloody grateful about it than that Katsuro fella, or with you, in the next one.